Let's talk PARSIQ.
Hello. Sounds great here as well. This is Alex.
Hey, Alex. Thank you. Okay, I guess we're ready to get started here. We're pretty excited. This is the first time our Twitter Spaces has worked in a little while here. There's been some major issues with Android phones connecting to Twitter Spaces, but we've determined the problem, and everyone's all fixed up to go today. So awesome. Thanks to our community team for helping solve all those issues. So yeah, let's get started. Welcome to today's Let's Talk PARSIQ Twitter Spaces. We're all here to meet our newest partners, VirtuSwap. Today I'm your host, Casey, head of community with PARSIQ, and we'll be joined by Marcelo from our community team, Emilius from our business development team, and from their side, we're pleased to be joined by Evgeny, the founder of VirtuSwap, and Alex, the head of business and data. Hello, guys. Welcome.
Hello. Great to be here.
Hello.
Hey Al, nice to be here again.
Hey everyone, thanks for being here.
Awesome, guys. That's everyone. Just to let everyone know, Evgeny will be on the VirtuSwap avatar there. So that's who will be speaking when you see that happening. So just a little bit about today's format. Obviously, we do these Twitter Spaces to bring two different communities together. So everyone can get to know each other's projects and in turn learn more about the space. So first, we'll be learning about VirtuSwap, their team and their mission. Second, we'll be digging into the partnership between PARSIQ and VirtuSwap to find out how we'll be working together. Third, we'll be discussing some things happening around the crypto space. And last but not least, we'll be taking some questions from the community. So if you do have some questions as you're listening, just please go inside of the PARSIQ Telegram or Discord channels and ask away. Marcelo will be collecting them throughout. So, all right, gentlemen, let's get started. So the first question is for VirtuSwap. I just wanted you guys to sort of introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little bit about VirtuSwap.
Sure. So that's a great question to start with. So VirtuSwap is a team of 12 people scattered around different kind of disciplines. We have developers, data scientists, marketing people, community, operations, and so forth. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a DEX that we think is significantly more efficient than the existing ones, both in terms of trading costs to traders and also returns to the liquidity providers. We'll expand on how we do this later on. But basically, we're trying to address the part of the segment of the market that has been neglected so far by existing DEXs, neglected for a reason, I must say, and that is all the assets outside of the top 5, right? So, for example, on Ethereum, the top 5 are, WETH, WBTC, and 3 major stablecoins. So trading in those has been taken care of quite well by the existing DEXs, by Uniswap, Curve, and so forth. But when we go outside of that, when we want to trade, for example, Matic against USDT, you're going to encounter quite significant costs. And the LPs in those pairs are going to generate pretty low returns, and so this is the segment of the market that we're trying kind of to address and to capture. And so our, if you want to capture our goal or our mission in one sentence, is that we're basically trying to become for those 99% assets what Curve has become for stablecoins, right? So trading stablecoins existed before Curve, but it was inefficient and expensive. Curve solved that. We are trying to solve this other segment of the market that is, as I said, neglected so far, and it's quite a big segment. It's over 20% of all trades, and kind of this is where we're going. This is the part of the market that we're trying to address.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that explanation. I think, so it sounds like, when I hear 20% of the market you're trying to address, that sounds like a lot of altcoins and new offerings, like, obviously PARSIQ is an altcoin. So that's great to hear that you're trying to address some of the liquidity issues. So I guess like maybe from a technical standpoint, as much as you can say, what does make VirtuSwap a different DEX than the than other ones people are familiar with.
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to do it as kind of general and broadly as possible, though there is no secrets, right? Everything is in the open. But basically, we are bringing two types of innovations to this market. The first one is sort of a novel financial engineering, and in very broad terms, the difference between what we do and what pretty much any other DEX does right now is that we are treating pools that exist in our ecosystem on our DEX as basically an orchestra that is working together and sharing liquidity, right? So if you look at existing DEXs, Uniswap, every pool is on its own, right? And there is really no connection between pools. And that basically means that liquidity in a pool is provided on a per pair basis, right? So if you provide liquidity in, say, Matic USDC, right, this is the pair that you're going to address, right? And you won't be exposed as liquidity providers to other trades in Matic, for example, right? In our case, we were able to build a system where basically pools share liquidity. So, if you provide liquidity in Matic USDC, you'll be able to get trades involving Matic against all other coins, right? All other assets. That is achieved by so-called reserve trading, right? So, in our system, every pool doesn't just have the two main assets, but also has reserves it can accept, right? And then those reserves are exchanged between pools, that create basically connection between pools. The main kind of result is that liquidity always flows to the trade that is currently being executed, right? So basically all the pools providing liquidity to Matic participate in the trade involving Matic, right? And that clearly increases kind of the liquidity for every trade. That also increases the returns to LPs, right? Because now you can provide liquidity in some pair that is not very popular, right? You are going to trades in this pair, but you're also going to get trades in other pairs involving one of the two assets to which you provide liquidity, right? So both lower trading costs for traders and higher returns to LPs because of this interconnection between pools. And importantly, this interconnection between pools does not come at a cost of significantly higher risk to LPs, right? And so that's very important. There is some extra risk to an LP that I don't want to go into. It's kind of technical, but it's very small, it's very temporary, and the returns to that risk or compensation for this risk is very large, right? So this is kind of the first innovation that we bring. The second one is more on the side of where the liquidity should be. So currently, liquidity on DEXs is distributed sort of in either a random fashion. So basically, every LP decides where to put the liquidity, or as sort of wars between LPs in terms of kind of gauges like a curve or balancer, where everybody's trying to kind of pull the blanket to their side. What we are trying to do is we have created a system of what we call liquidity optimization, right? So where basically we try to see where should we give the rewards, to which pools should we give the rewards in order to make the liquidity flow into pools where we think they're going to be useful the most, right? Where basically liquidity is going to bring the biggest bang for the buck, right? And so we showed, using very extensive simulations, using real world data, that the combination of this novel financial engineering and also correct or optimal incentivization of liquidity providers is actually able to accomplish an increase in LP returns up to about 400%, right? So up to 5 times, which is obviously a very significant number, right? Especially in those assets that right now are not very kind of profitable from the LP perspective.
Okay, thanks for that detailed explanation. A lot there to chew on. So before we go any further, I just want to sort of bring in Alex. Maybe you can introduce yourself and what your role is at VirtuSwap.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Alex. I joined VirtuSwap about a year ago now, and I have some history in crypto already. So in 2017, 18, 19, I was running Beam, which is a privacy-oriented layer 1 blockchain, which is now also venturing into the DeFi space. And what I'm doing is VirtuSwap is mostly related to business development and also data. So as Evgeny mentioned, an important part of what we're doing is this AI and optimization of liquidity, and this is based on a huge amounts of data that we are collecting from the blockchain, and also all kinds of optimization algorithms and simulations that we're building. So that's the part I'm responsible for, and also all the parts related to blockchain research. We are publishing quite a lot of stuff on different aspects, specifically MEV arbitrages, which are a fascinating subject on its own. In our Twitter, everyone can see every week we actually publish key statistics and the most interesting DeFi events that happened during the previous week for Ethereum and for Polygon. It's called Tales from the Dark Forest. You can check it out. So that's me. So I'm really fascinated with DeFi in general, with the AMM technology, with all its different flavors, smart contracts technology and AMM. I think that DeFi is really the first significant application of the smart contract technology, and to that extent of blockchain technology in general, outside of just money, right? So Bitcoin gave us money, and the money application of blockchain, and DeFi gave us real application of smart contracts. DEXs are as good as any centralized exchange, or better in every respect. So yeah, that's me.
All right, pleased to meet you, Alex. We'll certainly look for the Tales from the Dark Forest and retweet some of the stats you're sharing. That sounds like it could be fun for our community
They're
too.
coming up every week, almost like a Swiss clock.
Okay, great. I guess that might be a good segue when you're mentioning so much about data. So before we turn to some other bigger questions, can you tell us a little bit about some of the reasons you want to work with PARSIQ?
Yeah, sure. So as most of the DeFi project, I don't know if all of them, but the technology is such that to operate and to provide good user experience for the users, we need to know at any given moment what the state of the blockchain is, and specifically what the state of our own pools is, in a very detailed fashion. Right. So because asking the blockchain directly every time is somewhat expensive. So that's why we need this information provided to us in a very easy way. So before PARSIQ, we worked with some other providers, and they had two main deficiencies, right? I won't give names, but they're like the vanilla providers. So first one is that the information is provided in a very raw format, and it requires additional work on our side to parse and make sense of, which is not a huge deal, but it is a big deal. Right, and the second issue is also the efficiency, both in terms of the speed of access and also the costs. Okay, so from what we see on the market, the combination of ease of use, efficiency, and costs, all that PARSIQ offers, appear to be really the best. Also, I personally know some people on the team for a very long time already, and specifically with Emilius, right? In the last year, I think we met in several conferences several times, and always had good conversations. And I'm really happy those conversations now, really converted to doing this great business together, and among other things to having this conversation right now.
Yeah, great. That's really nice to hear. You laid it out so easily for everyone to understand. So, Emilius, I guess you're a good man to meet. I know that from meeting you myself. So I was wondering, let's get you involved here. So maybe you talk about you could talk about your side of things and working with VirtuSwap, and then Alex mentioned some of the differences about working with PARSIQ. Maybe you can just touch on those from what you've heard from others as well.
Yeah, of course. So thank you guys for all the kind words. Alex, exactly. He read my thoughts. I was about to say that we kept bumping into each other on multiple occasions, different events, and always had insightful conversations in terms of data. So I can only echo that I'm very happy about this relationship because it's built on some real substance. So we're providing value to each other, which is always great in terms of partnership. And now about the differences, how we're different. I guess we can start with the very basics. So essentially, there are two main categories of data provision. Usually, there are node providers and indexers. So node providers, as the name suggests, they kind of give you access to nodes, so projects can get hold of blockchain data. While indexers, there are different approaches, but usually they run pool of nodes themselves and then extract this data into some kind of databases using various approaches. So we at PARSIQ, we do belong to the indexer category, but we're a bit different than most, because being an indexer is not unheard of. But at PARSIQ, we have multiple key differentiators. So first of all, the tech geniuses that we have on our team, they have built some in-house build software, which is embedded in our own nodes that we're running for all the blockchains we support. So this allows us to provide richer raw data and also do some modifications to that data, like API decoding and things along those lines, which Alex briefly touched upon. Also, we are actually focusing more on developing more vertically than horizontally. So this means that we might not support as many blockchains, for example, but for the ones that we do support, in my opinion, we do a tremendous job when it comes to data provision, because we cover all the approaches, real-time and historical, raw and custom, which to my knowledge, no one else really does to that level. So, all things being equal, for the same use cases, our tech performs usually better than some of the data giants out there. For example, recently, just to give you some alpha, I was on a client call, and this project was using one of the very well-known data providers out there, and they had problems with querying smart contracts that emit a lot of transactions. They said that this, I would say, competitor is just crashing a lot of the time. So, right there on that call, myself and our data engineer, we tried to query the same contract in basically real time, and Tsunami returned a response in basically a few seconds. So the project was really amazed, and it just goes to show that for the use case that we do it really well. So we might not have the biggest team out there, maybe, but we surely punch very hard for our weight in terms of data provision.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, thanks, Emilius. I think everyone will be interested to hear some of the behind-the-scenes stuff there and some of that alpha. I think that only goes to show, what we're building at PARSIQ and sort of the clients we're going after. So thank you. I know the VirtuSwap team wanted to talk a bit about decentralization. So as we know, decentralization is a key feature within the crypto industry, and it serves as a major differentiator from our Web 2 counterparts. But the question is it all going to plan? So maybe we'll just open this up to the group. Maybe both teams can discuss some of the pros and the cons that they've seen with decentralization, and up to now, how each company is approaching the problem.
So maybe I can start if that's okay. So starting from the first principles, right? So the first principles of blockchain and the whole idea of blockchain was all about the benefits of decentralization, right? The idea of Bitcoin, from which everything else kind of sprung up, was to decentralize, to remove the need to trust anyone or anything besides, the math and the code. We see that really Bitcoin is working flawlessly for many years now. There aren't any particular issues, or everything's working fine now. Of course, specifically in the last period, we've seen the terrible dangers of centralization, right? Where when people trust Silicon Valley Bank or Terra or Three Arrow Capital or Sam Bankman-Fried, it leads to trouble, right? And that's why the ultimate goal, I think, of all of us being in this space is to see this whole industry being fully decentralized without anyone or any one entity being able to change things or to defraud people or to do bad things, right? So to me, an ideal like financial system is a place where you don't have to trust anyone, because when you trust someone, you sometimes get really disappointed and you get bit and you get tricked. Now, that said, decentralization is not very easy to attain. Depending on the task, right? So in our case, we have really two components to the solution. So one is the DEX itself, which is decentralized in our case from the get-go, aside from some management decisions that will be taken by the DAO, but the DAO, it is decentralized from the get-go, and it will start at being more and more decentralized as more and more people join. So that component is decentralized, same way, by the way, as say Uniswap or Curve or Balancer systems are, I think, like 95 to 100% decentralized, right? There's no single entity who can control them, aside for probably some whales who have a lot of governance tokens. But the second part of our solution, which is the AI component, there is a long way that it will need to travel to become decentralized. So in the beginning, this component will be, I could say, fully centralized and run on specific machines that will be, maintained by the foundation and by the core team. In the beginning, this optimization will run, and it will influence the deployment of liquidity to different pools. But from the get-go, we understand that this is not the right way, because if we are running this engine, that all the other players in all the other participants of our protocol, they need to trust us, right? And tomorrow we might become evil, or we might become sloppy, or whatever, right? So the idea is that we will gradually decentralize this optimization engine by actually creating some sort of a decentralized network where there will be several different tasks for the nodes. So some nodes will propose optimal configurations of liquidity. Other nodes, the worker nodes, will perform calculations to help actually find those best proposals, and there will be validators who will be responsible for actually getting to a consensus and finding the best proposals and rewarding the node that suggested it. So so the vision is to kind of, in several steps, which might take a year or two to get there, in several steps will make all the way from a fully centralized component, which gives those recommendations, to a fully decentralized network where all the players have skin in the game by staking the governance token, and there isn't a possibility for foul play. If foul play is punished. So this is the way. And so to finalize again, we think decentralization is one of the core values and one of the highest values in what we are all building in the space. it's important to understand that not everything can be decentralized from the get-go, but it's also super important to have a clear path to this decentralization and to communicate it to the people, and that's what we are starting to do now. We'll be publishing more stuff about our liquidity optimization engine. By the way, sneak peek, the name is Minerva, after the Greek goddess of wisdom and strategy. So this Minerva engine will actually start as a centralized engine and will end up as a decentralized network that is, that anyone can join and anyone can benefit from on both sides. And as the ultimate goal of this Minerva network, we see it opening up to other protocols and offering any other, say, DEX to use our computing, our network's computing power and algorithms to optimize stuff for themselves, stuff like optimal fees, optimal liquidity distribution, so on and so forth. And that would be like an awesome end game for the Minerva network. But this is something that's further in the future. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to the question.
Yeah, and I'll just add a couple of words, right? So just kind of to summarize what Alex said and put it in a more kind of maybe general perspective. So in many markets, not just in crypto or DeFi, it often happens that markets do not lead to the optimal kind of outcomes or equilibrium, right? And so sometimes kind of a benevolent central planner might achieve a better solution than a market solution, because it basically minimizes the wars and the competition between different market participants. And this is the role that we're trying to play initially, with this centralized kind of optimization that Alex described. But then kind of I think that the trick is to move to decentralization without losing these advantages of this kind of benevolent central planner, and that is what we're working hard, right, to kind of design a system with the correct incentivization of different parties that are going to kind of propose the solutions for optimizations and verifiers and solvers and whatnot, just in order to achieve the same or better outcome as the centralized one, but with complete decentralization, right? And that's basically kind of the end game that we're kind of striving to, at least in terms of this liquidity optimizing.
Okay, yeah, that's some good in-depth answers. I think like the key takeaway for me here is just like that you're listening to your founder and builders, and they've got a lot of plans to move towards decentralization, full decentralization, but just takes a while to get there, because building up the tech isn't easy. But it's good to hear about your ideas. Emilius, did you want to say anything, or just move on?
Yeah, I think we can move on with this. Guys have provided some really cool answers, and I don't think I have any more to add.
Okay, yeah. So I guess next we'll move on to a section that we're calling the not financial advice section. So remember, everything here is not financial advice. It's just a spot to hear some interesting takes from different people on the spaces here. So we're just going to talk a bit about the overall state of the market. Last night when I was preparing for the spaces, I just did a quick scan of the top 20 projects. On average, we're down about 40% since the beginning of 2022, and like this, of course, includes the recent bounce that we've seen. So yeah, just interested in knowing, like, from everyone here, like, what do you think of the overall state of the market right now? And if you could offer up what everyone wants to know is when do you think the next bull run is coming, and what it will depend upon?
All right, let me try kind of to give a brief answer to that first, or my brief take on that. So I think the fact that kind of the traditional financial system is kind of failing in front of our eyes. I mean, it's not a great thing overall, but it might be a great thing for DeFi in general, right? Kind of people realizing that maybe kind of centralized systems, as much as they're backed by governments, might not always work. So having said that, there are also kind of negative repercussions for the crypto industry, right? So the USDC episode, which basically illustrated that if you do something, it's probably better to go all the way, right? So because USDC sort of is obviously a crypto asset that is used in DeFi a lot, probably the most popular asset in DeFi, but it's backed by reserves that are sitting in centralized traditional banking institutions, right? And even more so in U.S. Treasuries, right? So hopefully nothing is going to happen to those, but who knows? So it just basically illustrates that we do need to progress towards kind of more full decentralization, even in stable coins, right? And kind of in that sense, kind of DAI is probably a better solution than USDC, right? Or kind of overly collateralized stable coins that are not backed by fiat assets, right? Maybe that's a solution. In terms of the state of the market, right, or when we are going to see the next bull run. So some people think it's going to happen very soon, and Bitcoin is going to reach $1 million in like 87 days from now. But it's hard to say, right? So as a finance person, it's very hard to predict kind of market movements, right? If someone was really able to do this, right, that would be the easiest kind of way to go instead of kind of building sophisticated protocols. But we've been in this bear market for a year now, and it seems like bear markets don't last very long typically. So I do expect that within the next few months we are going to see a significant rebound which may have started already, but we'll see in the next few months. But that's very kind of speculative. I don't want to go too much into that.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Avelius.
Yeah, so to me, it feels like a little bit, obviously, personally, I do believe that the bottom is in. Doesn't mean that we might not be able to retest those lows, but if I had to bet, I would say we are not going lower than what we have, where we have been, quite recently, around 15, 16K region. But to me, this feels a little bit like late 2019, early 2020. I think we will be able, find kind of the trajectory very soon. Obviously, I haven't ever been in an environment, in a macro environment like this, rate hikes, but also printers starting to get turned on again. So we'll see how that plays out. But I do believe in some ways, just like Evgeny said, what happened in front of our eyes might have, might open some more eyes to doubters who, were dismissive of crypto up until this point, because right now it's obvious that banks are not safe anymore, and some stocks plummeting, just like some really low market cap altcoins. So nobody's safe, but crypto has some strong arguments for being a long-term store of value.
I would add a slightly different angle. Right, so again, in Emilius, you covered macro environments and a view on crypto as an asset, which is kind of a speculative asset. But I think it's also important to remember that crypto is not just. It also has users, right? It also has real businesses running on crypto, like DEXs, like lending protocols, like NFT protocols, and other things, right? So, and I believe that by building useful things, I think building actually useful things will create more and more intrinsic value to crypto. Again, Uniswap is not just a coin; it's a protocol that generates revenue, right? It generates fees, and other DeFi projects as well. So I think the more we build such DeFi or blockchain businesses that are real, that provide real value, like VirtuSwap will provide real value, cheaper trades, right? Like Compound provides you with yields and so on and so forth. So the more businesses like that are built, and the easier it is for people to use them, the more people will come to crypto, and the prices will go up, not just because of speculation, but because of real usage and because of real value generated by protocols. So obviously, we don't know when the next bull run starts and how long it will, how long the bear market will take, and so on and so forth. But I think as builders, our goal is to bring those closer by building something that's really useful to people.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. Yeah, so I think to sum it up, everyone's building things that will create real value, which will lead to more users, which will lead to greater adoption, and then which will lead to we're all going to make it. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay, one other thing in this not financial advice section, I wanted to ask you guys if you had to ape into one project right now, or just sort of, put some money into one ecosystem that you believe in, where would that be?
Yeah, so I think we are a little bit biased. So we are going to launch on Polygon first in mid-May, and so I would say, and one of the reasons is that Polygon has been doing so great over the last year and expanding their ecosystem also in DeFi, but not only. And right now they're coming out with the ZK VM machine that has a big promise, and we're talking to them about that as well. So I'm very bullish on Polygon, and so I would put a little bit of money on Matic, especially since it actually hasn't been following so much of the price appreciations of Bitcoin and even Ether in the last few weeks. It seems sort of undervalued right now, to me at least, relative to their kind of relative valuation a month ago. So that that would be my bet.
Yeah, I agree with Evgeny on this one. I would also look at all the layer 2 solutions and other ZK rollups, because they seem to be able to really solve the blockchain trilemma of decentralization, security, and speed. And once that happens, it will pave the way for wider adoption. By the way, we, as being an EVM-based project, we are ready for that, and we're ready to jump on this wagon when it kind of starts preparing to leave the station. And in general, following my previous commentary, I would look at projects that are actually producing value and usage, like the Graph, like Chainlink, like Unmarshall, and a lot of others who are actually and PARSIQ for that matter, of course, right? I'm not sure, guys. Do you guys have a coin yet or not?
Yeah, we have our token since 2019,
Okay.
PRQ.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, the projects that are actually providing value, like this, right? So here we're seeing actually in this discussion we're having today, right? So VirtuSwap is a project that's going to provide value to traders and run an exchange business, and PARSIQ is providing critical infrastructure to VirtuSwap to operate, right? So, and these are not just some imaginary sky castles. These are real businesses, and PARSIQ has been doing that for quite some time now. So it's proven themselves. So it's also one of the great examples of businesses that will be growing with overall growth of the blockchain industry. So not investment advice, but go for projects that have real substance behind them and not just vapor.
I appreciate you, Alex, mentioning PARSIQ. I was about to be as cliche as possible and probably say PARSIQ, but since it's already mentioned, and you guys have named some really, blue chip projects, I think I'll add some degen spice into this. What about sub 10 million market cap project? I was recently looking at a new launched altcoin, which still has this AI narrative. What I was mostly interested in is that the project is called Podfast, and it's AI, narrative based. It's a tool that has a live tech right now. Basically, it's able to summarize every podcast out there on many mainstream platforms into digestible short materials of information. And the most interesting thing I found out about that is that there was no pre-sale, there was no seed round. It was publicly launched for the same price for everybody, and the full circulating supply was unlocked on day one. So that's, in my opinion, an interesting model for launching the token. So just to balance out you guys being blue chip oriented, I'll add this to the list. And as everything, you have to balance out things in life and do a portfolio that's both very stable and also some risk assets in there.
What's the name again, Emilius? Can you please repeat the name of the?
Yeah, it's called Podfast.
Oh, like podcast, but Podfast. Wow, nice name.
Yeah,
nice name to boot. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Check it out.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, Emilius, bringing in that degen spice. I like it. And yeah, for everyone listening, just to clarify, PARSIQ does have our own token called PRQ, and we're going to be updating our tokenomics very shortly. A lot of cool things being built over the course of the year to provide value for token holders. So look forward to that. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this NFA section. So just a reminder to everyone, none of that was actually advice, just everyone's opinion. So yeah, just wanted to clarify. And next up, we just want to chat about maybe what the next big thing in crypto is going to be. We've had like DeFi summer, NFTs, metaverse, recently AI. So in your opinions, like what is the next big thing in crypto?
Well, I mean, so we are obviously, in the DeFi space, so we're still very bullish on DeFi, although it has existed for a few years now. But I think, the potential is very far from having been reached yet. But if there's one other thing that personally interests me a lot, and I think is very promising, is basically kind of decentralized social platforms, sort of Lens or things of this sort. I think what we see in current social platforms, whatever, Twitter or Facebook, is that there is lots of polarization, that a lot of kind of commercial activity that is going on, which might or might not be suitable for many users, right? And so a solution where a user can take his or her own social network to different places, right, and not be bound by existing large players. I think that has a lot of potential, a lot of advantages. So I'm pretty bullish on that, but time will tell if this is going to kind of pick up.
So I think that so far the blockchain technology has proven itself in two ways to me. So one way is the as sort of value, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the major coins. And on the other hand, as a very efficient engine for financial engineering, financial technology, like exchanges, lending, borrowing, derivatives, all that, right? So, and the question I'm asking myself is, why do we still need centralized exchanges in crypto? But also, why do we need, the old school financial institutions? Why do we need Nasdaq? Why do we need those guys? Right, and of course, there is a lot of value in what they're doing, but I think a large part of that value of the functionality and of the value can be ported to blockchain and made trustless and made more accessible and made cheaper. So I think that the next big thing is still the fintech applications of blockchains, all of course, along with new layer 2 solutions that allow faster, safer, and more decentralized processing of transactions. So I would look into in the infrastructure layer for those new layer 2s, and in the application layer, I would look in more and more financial application around finance, and also bringing more TradFi, traditional finance applications into the blockchain space. That's my view.
Got it. And Emilius, do you have anything that you think is going to be the next big thing?
Honestly, I have no idea what's going to be the next big thing. But touching up on what Alex mentioned, I'm kind of looking forward to the times when the industry will consolidate around a certain amount of mainstream layer 1s and 2s, and we'll get less of layer 2s and different solutions coming, because there'll be nothing better to offer, since it's going to make, I do believe, the industry more unified, and closely, more closely knit to each other. So this is something I'm looking for on a personal level. But about the next big thing, it's so difficult to tell. I have honestly no idea. I would, if I had to put it in 2 words, I'll probably say tokenized assets. But that's basically that's it. That's it I can share.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a lot of stuff around real estate here in Canada. There's, you're taking either developments, houses, and splitting it all up so that people can be part owners of homes and condos and all this sort of stuff. So it sort of makes some lower barriers for entry. So that's all good stuff. And just curious, because I don't know this, I like a lot of people that I know, we do most of our trading on DEXs, but we still need that centralized exchange for our fiat on and off ramps. Is there anything that exists outside of that for fiat on and off ramps, or anything that's in the works that you guys know about?
No, on top of my head, I don't think I know something like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
All right.
here. I guess generally, this issue of on-ramp and off-ramp it's crucial to kind of bringing what people call 1 billion of users to the space, right? And once that is solved, I think that is going to be the true kind of mass adoption of crypto and blockchain.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, thanks, guys. I was just curious about that. We're gonna, we sort of have 12 minutes left, so we got to get to our community questions. I'm just gonna ask the first one, and then Marcelo's been collecting them from our community, so he'll be asking some more after. But I was just looking at your web page, and obviously you got a very busy roadmap. I think you're just on testnet at the moment. Also things that our community might be interested in. I see that you have an airdrop. Is there going to be a token? Can you answer some of those types of questions?
Yeah, so this is a great question. So we are going to have quite a significant airdrop right before our launch. So we're planning to launch in mid-May. So our airdrop is scheduled right now for the beginning of May, and it's going to basically cover 2 types of potential participants. The first one are liquidity providers who have provided liquidity in what we call the 99% of assets, so assets outside of the top 5, on other DEXs throughout the last year or so, right? So we basically want them to come to VirtuSwap and provide their liquidity with us, and for that we are basically going to give them a giveaway to kind of expose ourselves to them and convince them to try us out. The second constituency, that we are planning to share our tokens with, are traders that have traded in those assets and have experienced larger than desired costs in doing so, right? So a trader would be able to come to our website, enter their wallet address, and basically see how many trades in those 99% assets they have done in the last year, and how much money they wasted on doing so, and how much money they would have been saved if the possibility on trading in VirtuSwap, would be available to them at the time, right? And again, sort of incentivize them to try us out and see how much more efficient we are than existing solutions, right? So the procedure is going to be very clear. Regardless of whether you are a liquidity provider or a trader, you'd be able to come in, enter your wallet address, and if you have performed some relevant activities in the past, such as providing liquidity to relevant pools or trading in relevant assets, right? Then basically you're going to be eligible for the airdrop and claim your tokens. So that's going to happen in the beginning of May.
Okay, great. So I guess, people should write that down on their calendars if you want to provide some liquidity on VirtuSwap, and I'm sure there'll be lots of details about how the program is going to work. So make sure you're following them on socials. I'm just going to throw it over to Marcelo at this point so that he can ask some other community questions.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for making the time with Jenny and Alex. So I'm just looking through the community questions here. Question would be, could you let us know a little bit more about the on-chain data a DEX like VirtuSwap has and how it's used?
I guess I'll take this one. So can you repeat it specifically? How the question sounds again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll read it again. So could you let us know a little bit more about the on-chain data a DEX like VirtuSwap has and how it's used?
Okay, so actually I'll start off by saying that VirtuSwap is probably a little bit different from other DEXs. Because we're just using data that's not only about our own DEX but also other DEXs. And I'll explain. So remember we mentioned this Minerva liquidity optimization engine, and this engine actually to work, it needs to know what are the actual trades that are going on in all of the network. Let's say we're running on Polygon, so in all of Polygon and all the DeFi of Polygon, and what are the available liquidity pools, AMM pools, on Polygon. And with this information, we can try and figure out which kind of pools we need to construct on our side to get to be able to serve the most possible amount of trades and do it better than the others. Okay, so in our case, for this task, we're looking at all the information on all the DEX trading and all the liquidities of all the pools that are in existence currently. So we actually spent a lot of effort internally in order to build this kind of database on our own. We're actually using a project as a basis called blockchain_ETL. It's an amazing project created by people who are behind Nansen AI. If you know, it's also a very interesting research company. We're not affiliated with them, but we're really using their work, so it's it's always good to give credit. But based on their data, which is just they're making all the blockchain data available in the format of SQL tables, all the history. So from there, with a lot of parsing and a lot of complex computations, data matching, we are able to create to extract this information, right? So you could ask me, okay, how many trades were there on Balancer on the week of November 7th last year, and I could we know that, okay, we have all this information, and we can tell you what the slippage was on every trade and what were the arbitrages and a lot of other stuff. So as a DEX, we are looking at all this information. Now in this we are probably different from other DEXs because other DEXs don't use external information, at least as far as we know, to manage their work. Now, but even without it, every DEX has to constantly monitor what's going on in the blockchain. Okay, what's going on with their own pools, right? Because when you log on to say Uniswap whatever, or any other DEX, right? And you punch in the number of USDT you want to sell. You want to know how much ETH you want to get for that. So, and what will be the optimal route? So, what happens in the background is that this engine actually, it knows the states of all the liquidity pools, and it calculates the amount you will be getting. And to do that, they need to have access to all the state of those pools, right? So a DEX needs to know what's going on in all of their own pools, or an aggregator like 1inch needs to know what's going on in all the pools that are out there on this particular blockchain, in order to build this optimal route. And this is a challenging task, right? Because it's not practical to query the blockchain in real time all the time, right? So, and by the way, that's why what PARSIQ is doing is so valuable for the industry, because PARSIQ is making all this information available, right? And for querying. So, and guys like us, we don't need to build some complex engines or maintain complex nodes, which is a daunting task. So yeah, I hope I answered that. So every DEX has access to the state of its own pools. Aggregators try to get access, or must have access, to the state of all the existing pools out there, and VirtuSwap optimization engine actually has access to everything that is or has been going on the blockchain in terms of, specifically in our case, in terms of AMM trading. So quite a lot of data.
Thank you, Alex. That was really great explained. Hope that answers our community's questions. I'll go over maybe one more question just to be respectful of everyone's time, as we want to keep it below 1 hour. Next question will be, well, the last and final question will be, do you guys plan to move beyond the Polygon ecosystem in the future?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a great question. So I think, we would like to start on Polygon just because it's a great playground for us, because there is lots of activity, but not as much liquidity on, say, Ethereum mainnet, and so it's kind of easier for us to shine there. But as soon as the market realizes the advantages that we can bring, we do want to expand. We do want to expand to Ethereum mainnet. We do want to expand to other L2s on Ethereum or other EVMs, and maybe later on to non-EVMs as well. But we do have plans for expansion. I think it's important for us to prove ourselves in one place, and Polygon, I think, is a great place for that. But we're definitely not limited to Polygon.
Beautiful.
All right,
Thank you for answering that. Sorry, I'll pass it back to Casey.
all good, Marcelo. That was a great question. Thanks to our community for supplying us with them. So I guess, yeah, it's time to wrap up. So I just wanted to say that it was great to meet the team from VirtuSwap, Evgeny and Alex. Really happy that you could come and spend some time with us and get to know more about your project. And from our side, thank you to Emilius and Marcelo for being part of the Twitter Spaces. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone and goodbye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, guys. I think this was awesome, both in terms of the questions and in terms of the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's talk PARSIQ.